So what are you doing? Is it Akhilesh who had shared just now? Yeah, we're just waiting for a few more minutes and we should be good to go. In the meantime, I would love to hear from what are you doing currently and what are the challenges you are facing while trying to build your career in the fashion industry. Welcome, Yash. Simi, are you able to hear now? Is Simi able to hear? Can she just type in the chat box right now? So Pulkit, you are a chemical engineer by profession, but have a keen interest in fashion industry. You're about to pursue an MBA this year. Wow. So you have been studying chemical, been in the chemical this thing industry, and also thinking about getting into an MBA. Can you be a fashion buyer? See, Pulkit, I just would want to say, and you will actually understand when we are going to be going through this presentation today, that it's not a matter of that, you can become a buyer or not. Of course, you can become a buyer, once you learn a little bit more skills, you pick up a few industry, understand more industry understanding. But the point is that it's all not about becoming someone. It's like, how would you really excel in that? And that is what we want to talk about today, because a lot of people are already working in the industry. They are already having a career in the industry, or they have already studied, but not necessarily everyone is doing very well. And why they are not doing it's not because they don't know about the industry better. It's all that, sometimes we have not understood the role that is going to be best suited for us when we are studying, when we are working in the industry. So good question. And we can definitely take it up separately as well, based on your profile, as how can you get into, because if fashion buying is something you're interested in, of course, that's something which we can look at, in which area of fashion buying you would be looking into. Is everyone able to hear now?
Yes, madam. Yes.
All right, great. I would just request to mute everyone so that everyone can mute themselves. And we are going to be starting the presentation now. And any questions you have, we will give you time, so we can actually discuss the questions at the end of the survey, at the end of this webinar. Is that okay?
Okay, madam.
Great, good, good. So 1 second. I'm just trying to see if everyone is muted or not. So thank you for joining today. What we want to really talk about is, how do you build a fashion career? And what are the challenges and opportunities that we have in today's date? I know a lot of people have been studying fashion for fashion in different fashion colleges, and a lot of you have also been working. So before we start this thing, I want to have a quick poll understanding what are you doing right now? So are you a fashion entrepreneur? Are you a fashion graduate? Or are you a fashion executive?
No, madam. May I know fashion technology?
All right. Uh, Vision, is it possible you can mute yourself and participate in the poll? Or you can actually give your answers on this in the chat box, so that I know exactly, how many of you are actually coming from you are a fashion entrepreneur. Chintan, please check your settings. I hope others are able to hear. There are some engineers too. Okay, textile designer, great. So Shreya, have you just graduated or you already working? Oh, great. Yeah, it's all audible. Good. Thank you. Okay, so there are a couple of fashion entrepreneurs who are here right now. Interesting. Just waiting for a few more answers. So there are people who are looking to be a fashion entrepreneur, or they're already entrepreneurs, and there are people who are working. And so are there any graduates who are actually attending this session today? Well, great. Thank you. Thanks a lot for sharing. I want to start something about my journey, and just so that you understand. I had these three phases with my early career, the mid management, and the senior management. And I would like to take you through as what are the challenges or what are the wins which happen in every stage. And I'm sure you all can also understand and relate a little bit better. So after my class 12th, I, like all the parents, they think about, what is the most upcoming opportunity which is going to be for the students or for the children. And in 1994, when I was just finishing my class 12, textile industry was really booming at that point of time. And my parents got me the forms for NIFT Delhi, and also another textile college in Benares. Uh, I had appeared for the exams and everything and got through the college. And then I was in NIFT Delhi. It was a fashion design and clothing technology that I was doing at that point of time. And I really loved being with a lot of designers, talking to them, understanding, how they look at design, because it was a beautiful institute, such creativity happening. But I always used to feel a little lost that, I don't feel like, I am a designer. I used to love fashion, understanding what's happening in the globe, following the designers, all of this. But I knew just I can't create the way some of the other students were creating. Well, 12 months down the line, I finished my course and actually started with 7 job opportunities. So that was a good win, just after 12, 1 year into a professional degree, and you have 7 opportunities. So that was a really good thing. And I thought, which is the opportunity I should choose, because there were 7 opportunities to choose from. No proper guidance. So it was like, one of my friends who was there, she said, we stay somewhere close by. So why don't you just come and join this place? And that's how I actually took up my first opportunity. Now, imagine how much of, lack of guidance has always been there in terms of choosing. I started enjoying the job that I was doing, and that was Usha Fabs. Back 25 years almost now, I was working with one of the leading export houses at that point of time, and really enjoying the work with the international buyers at that point of time. Every time I used to look at what I was doing, I used to be happy that, well, I have a job, I get a great salary, and I was so young at that point of time, and all my other friends were studying. However, I had no idea what am I going to really do later in life. So coming from a family, where my father was a doctor, my mother was a teacher, and also into social work, they all had a very well defined profession. And when I used to think something around this, I used to feel, where am I heading to? What am I going to be doing this thing? I can't even explain what I'm doing because I was not a designer. I knew that, and I couldn't fake it. And it used to be very odd that, what do I talk? So I'm not a designer. People didn't understand what is merchandising. So how do you explain? And where do you see yourself going? That was another big question. So though professionally I was doing well, I was getting a good salary, but absolutely no vision. And that's why, I continued studying. We all think, okay, fine, if you're not sure about what we are doing right now, why don't we pick up some courses and we start doing them side by side, so that, if there's a problem in this plan A, then we have a plan B to do. And I did the same thing. I got into an MBA course. I did an MBA in international business. And I realized that it didn't help me at all. I was already a graduate at that point, by that point of time, from commerce, and I was not seeing all of these things helping me at all. Well, fast forward, while doing all of these things, managing so I got even married quite early. So I was married, having a job, continuing my studies. You can imagine how overwhelming I would have felt. And absolutely no guidance, because no one at that point of time was working in the textile industry from my family or my friends' background. That's how my early years were. Not that I did not like what I was doing, but the clarity was missing. And this went on for almost 10 years. Till the time I moved to UK, and I was working with some of the retailers in the UK, where I started understanding, okay, this is how the industry looks like, how people are sourcing, how retailers are sourcing from around the globe. I started understanding, okay, it's not only about just making clothes, but why do we make clothes? I started understanding that. I was there in the UK for about 4 years, and I did a few more professional courses from London College of Fashion too, which were definitely very helpful, because it was around costing procedures, it was around business management, and I was understanding customers better. I was able to develop a lot of business for manufacturers in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, and I was very good with communicating across the borders. So this is something which was coming out really strong, and I was enjoying. And of course, while being in London, you had this opportunity of working with the complete Far East. But still, if you ask me if I knew where I was heading to, I had no idea about it. 10 years down 10 years while working, I came back to India. And this is where, I had joined Tesco International Sourcing. It was a great company. In fact, Tesco at that point of time was global, world's #2 retailer. I started a new category for them. Less than a year, the business grew to more than $6 million. It was great. Suddenly, they decided that the operations will move from Delhi to Bangalore. And they said, you have been chosen to represent India from the India office to work with a global company in training and development section. And I was extremely excited, because I was the only one of the 100 people who were working in Tesco International Sourcing at that point of time who was chosen for this role. And I had all my travel calendars fixed up, everything. And suddenly something struck. And I was questioning, what if, after this project finishes, and what am I going to do next? Will I get back into merchandising? Because this opportunity this is just a 2-month project, and who knows what I'm going to be doing that. I know for 10 years I have done merchandising, and I know that was my forte, because I was great with building businesses. I was great with interacting with the buyers I was dealing with. So I went back after 15 days, spoke to the country manager and said, thank you for this opportunity, but I would not want to continue. And I left it. That's when I left Tesco and I moved to Impulse, which is a buying office. And I had learned some biggest lessons of my life here. Coming from a liaison office. Liaison office, some of you, if you don't know, it's more of a international retailers office in India. So they are basically just sourcing for the international retailers. Whereas buying agents act as trading agents between for the buyers and for the manufacturers. So this was a complete change in environment. In Tesco, I was almost like a buyer. In a buying office, I was neither a buyer, neither a supplier. I was trying to manage expectations of both a buyer and a supplier. And I was sandwiched badly. Not I would say that, in all of this time that the business was not growing. In fact, the business was really growing very well. Initially, I did not know exactly how to negotiate. And even after meeting my targets, I only got a 15% raise. And I was like, why did it happen like this? Because the manager had almost about 40% raise. So why, if I have worked equally hard for that, I'm only going to be getting a 15% raise? That's when I realized, that's when I learned the lesson that, that's how the teams are structured. The person who is leading gets the bigger share. Lesson learned, applied. Some of the learnings which were applied was I knew better how to negotiate for the next time. Next year, the business grew by almost 100%. And my share of growth, which was in terms of salary and bonus, was almost 40%. That was the growth I had in 1 year. And this was, I will tell you, when the UK market was hit by one of the biggest recessions in 2008, 2009, when businesses were going down. My business had grown up by almost 100%. And that's when I was really recognized by Impulse and I was promoted to become a manager. So, when you are a manager, you have these early stages of being happy about, how you're working. You have a bigger team to handle. But you don't realize that you don't have to do things yourself all the time. You have a team to support you and you have a team to guide so that can be guided. In my first year, I made mistakes like either I was doing all the work for them or I was leaving work for them to be done. Year end, after 1 year of promotion, I realized that I was extremely overworked. Despite meeting my targets, I was not really rewarded well. Reason, I could develop the business, but I was not a great team leader at that point of time. That's when I started realizing, oh, it's not all good to just build a business, but your people have to stand. Next 2-3 years, I worked on myself. And I learned how to actually understand the team, how to delegate with the team. And I started enjoying building businesses and building people. However, was this easy? No. In these 6 years while being with Impulse, though I grew professionally like anything, I was confused, what am I doing? Because I was working almost 24/7. And I am not a person who does not like to work. I used to enjoy working. I used to enjoy working not only for my customers, but also for my suppliers and my team too. But the idea was that it was far too much of work without a lot of recognition, and it left me stressed end of the day. That's when I decided, okay, fine, it's high time and I need to look for doing something completely different. And I left Impulse. I was already in the senior management at that point of time. And I was really thinking, what's the next thing that I want to do? However, long before, I had left the company Impulse, I got the next opportunity with Norwest Industries. And though I really did not wanted to go back into the fashion industry and work in a similar role, I was pushed, brainwashed, and everyone said, building businesses was not a challenge for you and you should not leave the industry. And I kind of gave in because, you get used to a particular salary that you have. You get used to the travel exposure that you get all the time. And trust me, it was easy at that point of time because after 15 years of my industry experience, I knew how to build businesses. I knew how to manage teams. So there was absolutely no challenges. So I said, okay, yeah, what's the harm? I can actually go and join. So I was heading a team there, and I was there for about 6 to 7 years. What I realized here is that I was building business. I was building my team. In fact, my team was good enough now to build the business effortlessly for me. I was extremely good with getting the right factories on board. A lot of strategic alliances is something which I ended up having for Norwest at that point of time. And I used to enjoy working and helping the youngsters who were coming into the industry. So we always used to hire twice in a year the interns coming from different universities and fashion colleges across India. And specifically, that used to be my favorite part because I had a special program where we would mentor these trainees, these interns, so that when they are going out, they are just not going out by doing the mundane of doing a photocopy or just maintaining files or just an Excel sheet. I ensured that they actually did something concrete while they were interning with us. And as a result of it, some of them decided to stay back with my team even without a salary. Unless we decided, okay, fine, we are going to be hiring them. And I still am engaged with those people now as well. Now, over the years, I was really seeing that from business development, my focus was really moving to going and working with people and also with businesses. I would never find business development a challenge. And I thought, how can I make it effortless for other companies too? I wasn't finding getting a job or working into my profile was not difficult, as long as I knew what I was asking from my team members. So I would not go and ask something which was completely unreasonable for them to do, or it was just because of a CV that they have, or just because of the programs they have been going. And that's when I thought, okay, fine, I would want to go ahead and do something completely different. Fast forward, I started working individually as an entrepreneur, and I decided to take the 22 years of experience and whatever I have learned while working in the multicultural global environment, understanding customer behavior, to help fashion businesses and brands grow, and also mentor and help individuals grow in their career. Because I felt there was no help when I was growing. And I could have done far better much earlier. And that's where, I wanted to step in and fill in the gap which I felt all through these years. While studying as a career consultant, I realized that my core strengths are around business development and people development. And had I taken an opportunity earlier, when it was offered from Tesco, I would have had a much faster growth. So today, just 1 second, guys, please, sorry. Just Sorry, I'll just put back the presentation. Just give me a second, please. There's some issue. Yeah, sorry. That's fashion business consulting all about. So in all these years, what I really realized is that there are no clear roles that are defined. When you go into an industry and you start working, you really don't know what role you should be choosing to become a product merchandiser or a production merchandiser, to be a designer for children's wear or be a designer for kids wear, for ladies wear, or do something around men's wear. So absolutely no direction is something which we always faced. Another big challenge was that there was too much of competition in politics. People never wanted to share what are the secrets of their business. They always wanted to focus upon building themselves, because the fear was that, what if I tell them everything? How am I going to be growing? So this was one fear which really lacked a lot of things to be shared by people. Then of course we all know that there is no concept of mentoring. Even the people who are reporting to us or who are supposed to be our seniors, they don't have the time and energy to come and mentor us. And when we go asking for questions, I'm sure a lot of you would have really realized that we don't get any proper answers around what is happening. And this is a very big challenge, where you can't really go up and ask for mentoring help from individuals who are working around you. Now all of this was absolutely okay, and this is how the fashion industry has been. However, how things have really spanned out in the recent years, how pandemic, the whole the whole COVID-19 pandemic, the lockdown, the shutdowns has really caught the fashion industry to a standstill. And the leaders in the fashion industry are really rethinking, reshaping, and trying to rebuild the industry. They're really trying to analyze, where did we really go wrong? What is it something that we could have really done correctly? Because this disruption did not happen overnight. It's like last 4-5 years, we were talking about digital printing. We were talking about 3D printing. We were talking about how automated machines are going to be making clothes, but no one really focused. We never wanted to bring in automation because a lot of you people are going to be losing jobs. However, today they are all really thinking hard, because they know not everyone is going to be able to go back to work the way it used to be earlier. The shops are going to be completely done differently. So the idea was, what can we do? How can we really move ahead? And this is where the companies are thinking. The Darwinian shakeout is happening, and I'm sure we all have studied this theory of Darwin, which is all about survival of the fittest. You can see today a lot of international companies are closing on a daily basis. And they were all very well-known companies for more than 50 to 100 years. And today we are just seeing them breaking down right now. We see companies like Debenhams, companies like Macy's, Gap, all of these are shutting down or going for Chapter 11 and going to be thinking about restructuring. That means a lot of opportunities, a lot of buying capacities, which all of these companies had, are not going to be there anymore. We will have less than 50% opportunities than what we used to have earlier. The industries are really thinking of rebuilding themselves. They are really thinking how we are going to change the way we are working right now. And with everything that is happening in China, a lot of countries are really looking towards India. It's not that they haven't looked at India earlier too. In 2008 also, they were looking at India, but India really misses opportunities to countries like Vietnam and Cambodia because India was not prepared. There was too much of inefficiency which was there. People were not proactive. And because they were not proactive, the trust factor was not built with the international retailers. And that is how India lost the opportunity in 2008 to 2012, which was a great period where Indian apparel industry could have grown. In fact, if you look at the figures in the last 5 years, the global exports from India contribution has actually gone down from 6% to now it's only 3.6% right now. And whereas other countries, it's all gone up. So it's a time when we have to really think about how new business models are going to be emerging, how we have to go and approach this industry right now. It can't be in the same manner we have done earlier. With all of the changes happening, new opportunities are being created in fashion marketing, in communication, where we are thinking about how can you become a stylist rather than just looking at being a designer. Technical, there's a lot of work around the technical aspects. You have very specialized people being hired for tailored product, for non-tailored product. How are we building innovation into fabrics? So these are the areas of new opportunities that are coming for us right now. Technical designers are being looked at. We are looking for visual artists to create a look and a visual appeal because we are not going to be able to travel all the time. So these are new opportunities which are really coming up. And are we all really looking at these? Are we seeing how we are going to approach these new opportunities? Is a big miss that what I've really seen in the few interactions I've had recently with the students and professionals. I'm just looking at, I don't know where these marks have just come. Yes. Now I would want to take you to what is the right roadmap to building a successful fashion career. What can you do now? How can you really go ahead and build a successful fashion career? We are going to be talking about the new opportunities, like in compliance management. You can be working with social media companies as fashion communicators. You can be working in as web designers who are really working for fashion brands and fashion companies, because a lot of general companies don't understand what all technicalities and presentation is required for a fashion company. Specialized area in garment technology is coming up really, really well. A lot of stylist opportunities, both in terms of fashion stylists and interior stylists, is coming up now. So is there something that you are looking around this? Are we actually talking about this? Is something you should be asking yourself. Where are these available? Trust me, it's just not available in metros. You have got virtual jobs. You have opportunities now globally. Today, designers are actually supplying their designs not only in India, but even to people around the globe. The international retailers and brands are hiring tech people in India. They are hiring designers in India who have the great skills. And again, the opportunities are also moving out from the metros into the tier 2 cities. I was talking to a brand recently, and he's now in a very small town, but he's doing exceptionally well right now. He's a NIFT graduate, and right now he has got his own brand. And despite all the lockdown, because he has got a made to measure product offering, his business has actually gone up. He has fewer number of people coming into the stores, but 80 to 90% more conversions happening. That's how the growth and opportunities are coming into different areas. Some of the places that you might normally know where you have been applying to are international brands, their offices which are here, the liaison offices, the buying agents, like the different buying agents which are there, the manufacturing companies. These are normally where people are making their applications to. But what are the new emerging opportunities are working with the social media companies, with emerging designers. And a lot of emerging designers are not really out of the metro cities. They're actually from small towns, but they are doing a fantastic job in terms of product offering. So you can reach out to them. It's not difficult to work virtually from wherever you are, as long as what you're offering is great. So it's not a matter of sitting down and thinking, okay, fine, when will the offices open? When will the orders start coming back? And that's when I'm going to be going back to work again. It's all about how can we create opportunities even while we are not going to work. That is a mindset that we really require right now. As a designer, we always thought that it's all about creativity. And I want to break some myths here. A designer has to be extremely, extremely careful about what is their customer understanding. Creativity is of course the basic requirement for a designer, because if you are not creative, you can't be original. You would be ending up copying designs. But apart from this, you have to understand who are you working for. Are you able to really manage your time well for your presentations? Are you having good interpersonal skills to liaise with the teams, different teams, like the production people, to people who are working on the back end, like merchandising, or to the international customers? If you are not having great interpersonal skills, you won't be able to liaise with them. And that is going to create a lot of problems despite great creative abilities that you might have. So please, when you are building a resume, and if you're a designer, take care of this thing, because this is really important for you to look at. Suppose you are applying for a job of a retail planner. Now, analyzing data for a retail planner is extremely important, because he doesn't only have to look at what he has to buy in the future, but also has to analyze the data which is actually coming from the different stores, from online models differently, offline models differently, and be able to critically analyze about it. So if you have great data analytical skills, but you are not able to critically analyze this thing, and analyze it, then I would never recommend you to go into retail planning, because you might like fashion, you might like to be a fashion merchandiser, but if these two aspects are not there, if you are not able to understand your customer behavior, if you're not able to monitor what is happening around, and if you don't have a vision of what are the upcoming trends, then despite all the education and the experience, you may not be able to excel in your role. Because it's very important for us to understand it's not only about a job, it's all about how do we get a job and do extremely well. Because if we are going to do extremely well, our organizations are going to do better, and that's when they would want us to grow, and they would be going simultaneously. Then product development. Now, this is another area where I see a lot of designers getting confused. Should I be a product development merchandiser, or I should be a designer, or I should just be a merchandiser? Now, this is where I would really want you to understand clearly, because I know a lot of you are in similar roles. If you do not have very good presentation skills, you can be very good with product designing, but you will not be able to go and sell your product. You will not be able to convince. And it's all not about making a physical product today. A lot goes into how do you digitally go and package it and present it. How do you think differently? You have a concept which your buyer really likes. How do you make it in their price point? Are you able to communicate with the factory, with the labor, at the same point of time communicate with the international clients or even domestic buyers? Because there's a lot of difference in the kind of people you are meeting on a daily basis. So you may have the best of the skills around creating a product or making it very beautiful. But if you are not able to have effective communication, you are going to struggle in your job. And you are not going to be seen by your peers as an important team player. So that is something which you have to really keep in mind. And trust me, you might think that these are all acquired skills, but some of like if our liaison skills are there, a person who has got great communication abilities would be able to do it effortlessly compared to a person who is not good, has not got it naturally. So I want to make you understand it's not only about your education and the experience. How are you as a person is what you have to really start understanding. Now, if you are very digital savvy, you are a very tech savvy person, picking up a program around digital expertise is going to be great. But if you are not a tech savvy person, I would never ask you to go and do a course around machine learning or data analysis, because that's who you are not. And let me tell you how many number of courses you can end up doing. You can still just be doing an average job. So think about the courses that you want to pick up. It should just not be about who you want to become, but it should also be based around your personal strengths. Because you have to understand, if a business was not effortless for me, or if I did not know exactly how to manage businesses, or in fact, I did not know how to understand my customer better, I would not have been able to develop the businesses I have developed in these years. Taking to another role is also an export merchandiser. Now, how different than a product development merchandiser? An export merchandiser has to take far more critical decisions. He has to work on a process. He has to be a planner, and also a person who's going to be making it executionable as well. He should be really able to communicate with people in the factories and people on the shop floor who are like selling in the stores. And there are also people who are actually on the design side, so that he is knowing that the right product is actually being produced, because this is a time when actually you are producing the goods. And this is where a product development to a production differences start happening. And you would think that, oh my God, I have produced everything, I've shipped on time, but I still don't have repeat business on that. Because maybe in the whole due course, the product doesn't look the same way it was picked up. So this is something which you have to really understand if you are a quick decision maker. If you find working easy to work in a multicultural environment, then you should be looking at getting into export merchandising. Because otherwise, you can look at the other opportunities, and there are plenty of opportunities, guys. It's about knowing your strengths, and what strength works best for every role is very important. I could not be a designer because I was never very good with creativity. That was one thing which was not very good with. But because I had a lot of good commercial understanding, I was able to build up the business because I could easily work with the buyers and the designers. It had nothing to do with my education. I did it like all the other people who had done the education. Now let's look at a buyer and how a buyer would be different than a designer. Now, even buyer needs to know how nice the products they are buying, because if they don't buy a good product, they would not be able to sell it to the customer or the consumer. So a buyer is more of a person who has got a good commercial understanding of what's going to be appealing to their consumer. Now, to have that commercial understanding, he needs to understand the consumer behavior very well. He has to understand the consumer psychology very well. He has to also be someone who's actually following the trends and seeing what's coming up, so that he's not buying something which is absolutely outdated. He really knows how to negotiate and work in a very high-paced environment. Trust me, working into a buying role is not an easy role. In fact, none of them are easy roles. A lot of these roles need you to be ready to work in a very high-paced environment. So if you are not a person who can work in a high-paced environment, I would not recommend you. I would rather ask you to get into designing, because you might have better creative skills which you will be able to deliver better. That is what I would recommend you when you are not someone who would want to work in a very high-paced environment, and not a best decision maker, and not a persuader. Because you can have the creative skills, you can have a customer understanding and an eye for product, but without these things, you cannot be an effective buyer. Some of the mistakes which I have seen while I was talking with the students, and also how they have been working, is a design student is usually unclear of what role would be best. Like, we spoke about whether you want to become a buyer, a production merchandiser, or a designer, or a product development merchandiser. They are often confused about it. Now, like I have told you that, based on your practical strengths, based on your abilities, you will be able to choose it better. And you also should be choosing the right environment. It's not all about creating the best of product. Understanding what is your employer looking for. Of course, he looks for a great product, but those great products also have to be sold to the consumer. If they're not going to be sold, how would you actually get more business? How will you actually grow the business of the employer? So you have to be always remembering this thing, that it's not all about the great product. It has to be a mix of it. A lot of fashion communication students have been also confused about the role that they should be going ahead for. And they have opportunities in areas like fashion communication, in fashion marketing, social media. They can be a blogger or a vlogger. Now, trust me, they are all a part of fashion communication. But a fashion blogger would be a very different person than a fashion blogger. A fashion blogger would be someone who's more of an introvert, who likes to observe things, talk about, more organized, versus a blogger who is going to be more outgoing, a person who is more spontaneous, and who is quick to act and really connects with the people very easily. So despite you having the same degree, if you are not able to choose the correct role for yourself, you can really go wrong in your career choices. And again, what kind of company would you want to go and apply? Because this is one common problem I've seen with a lot of students, is that they are just looking for an opportunity into any company. And that's not the fun, guys, because a company may hire you and soon realize, oh, you are not the right fit for them, and they would want to ask you to leave. And that's happening quite often right now. In fact, companies are hiring for a month just to see how people are working. And if they are happy, then they kind of offer a stipend to fashion graduates right now. So having a clarity about what kind of communication do you want to go into UI or UX, because that's another way of communicating, where you are communicating through your graphical sense and not through blogging or vlogging. So there are various platforms and very specific things for every individual. But you have to understand this, and you have to look at the opportunities in totality, what the industry is offering. Some more I would just like to share. Now, this is what a common mistake into middle management is happening. When I see a lot of managers, they are either doing things, or they just want to manage and do nothing, and fail to build a connection. A lot of us, like I shared in my journey too, I struggled for almost 2.5, 3 years to figure out what is the right way to become a manager. No one came and spoke, that, when you start getting into being a manager, you have to do both. You have to do things, you have to lead by example, but let others do too. You have to build connection before you ask them to deliver results to you. Someone would have just spoken to me around these things, my life would have been 2.5 years less stressful. It's not that I did not learn, but I learned it over a period of 3 years, which I would have actually been able to do in 6 months, because of course, telling versus doing has their own learning time. But it would have been far more easy, and it would have been far more stressful, not only for myself, but the others in the industry too. who were working with me at that point of time. And that's when I felt, what if I would have had a mentor in my life, how my life would have been really different. So now I will just give you an example, how a mentor in my life would have really made it easy for me. When I got the best opportunity of working with world's number second, retailer, that is Tesco, had I gone and said, okay, fine, I would like to go and work into training and development, you know exactly what I'm doing right now. I would have not wasted another 10 years into just working into merchandising and trying to figure out what I want to do. This has really costed me huge, not only in terms of money, but a huge amount in terms of time and energy. I would have learned from someone's personal experiences, because as a mentor, we get to share what we have done wrong, like I'm sharing right now with you. I would have 10 years back, I would have been doing what I'm doing right now. It would have saved a lot of my time and energy, and I would have been growing. Because if in 2006 I would have been working with a global fashion retailer who is working in 14 different countries, what kind of exposure I would have got at that point of time is something which I cannot get back in my life right now also. And I'm just building over whatever I'm doing individually right now. So that is how our mentor could have actually saved my life and could have made it much better for me. When I look at the current scenario right now, when I look at, what's happening, I see a lot of companies are closing down. You know exactly what's happening in stores around the globe. The payments are not being made. The furloughs are happening. In India, there's no concept of a furlough, so you people are just not being paid right now. The entire supply chain has disrupted. We really don't know what is the best mode to go and deliver the goods to the retailers anymore. A lot of established brands have been closing down. Manufacturing doesn't look like it's going to start. And even if they are planning to start, there's lack of labor situation which is happening right now. When I was talking to brands and companies, they were talking that, we don't even know what kind of people we want to hire, because we want people who can do almost 3 times the work that they were normally doing earlier. That means they are looking for people under high performers who are proactive, who don't have to be told what to do. Are you all understanding what we are talking? I would just like to share a few comments in the chat box so that I know if I'm not very fast and you are all along this way. Please share your comments in the chat box. I hope it's all making some sense to all of you and understanding, how challenging the situations are right now. Thank you. Thank you, Rachna. Thanks a lot. All right, I will just continue. So they're looking for people who are actually problem solvers. They are hardly advertising. So they are going by word of mouth right now in terms of hiring, because they know they want to hire the right people. They don't want to go for a hit and trial, and they don't have anyone to train the people whom they are going to be hiring. So this is one thing which you have to really understand. Thank you, Pulkit. Thanks a lot. And great that you all find it valuable. And a lot of businesses themselves are busy restructuring themselves. They know that their orders are not going to be as many as they used to earlier produce. So they are really right sizing their companies. They're trying to see who are the right people whom they want to retain. I'm sure you would have heard about a lot of stories around layoffs, and that's happening all because they're all busy restructuring. Now, how in all of this mayhem do you actually think about going and talking to them? And it can be very frustrating when you go and apply and you don't hear back from the HR departments, or you don't hear when you write back for people to hire you. And I was really wondering, because at one point of time I can see a lot of brands struggling to hire the right people, because what they are saying is that a lot of people don't have the skills that we are looking for right now, or they don't really know exactly what they're going to be coming and offering to us, so they themselves are confused. And at the same point of time, I see a lot of graduates and fashion professionals struggling to get the right opportunity for themselves. So this is a big disconnect which I'm seeing, where there is opportunity but people are not being hired. And that's what made me think about, what can I do, how can I help in this situation. So like I said, I've been mentoring people earlier too. For last 5 years now, I've been mentoring people while I was working with my job and after leaving that too, on a one-on-one level. And I've had made some great results for them, because right now they are just not only having a great career, but they are actually also growing right now. So, one second. So I have a program which is there for fashion graduates, to help them understand what is the best way to launch their fashion career, how it's going to really help them in getting the clarity of what are the right roles that they should be going for, understanding the industry challenges. Because as a fashion graduate, when I read CVs saying, I'm looking for a challenging opportunity, trust me, the industry is going through a challenging time right now. So you have plenty full of challenging opportunities right now. But no one is talking about how will you go and help those companies? What kind of companies do you want to help? And trust me, like, if I talk to a fashion graduate and say, these are your challenges, you will feel that I'm connecting with you. But if you just say that, I am looking, that means you're talking to everyone. And I don't know if you're talking to me right now or no. So the people who are if you are actually a fashion graduate and you are struggling to get the right opportunity, maybe a program like this can really help you in understanding where your strength lies. How can you go and be proactively offering yourself and connecting the right way? Guys, I know a lot of people are reaching out on different social media platforms right now, and some of them are building connections too, but there are no results out of those connections. And simply that's because they do not know how to go and connect and engage with the people. So it's not just sending them messages that, I want to get connected on LinkedIn and this is what you are looking for. Because trust me, as an organization, I'm not bothered about what you are looking for. I don't have the time to, to reply to you, because I can tell you that, we are busy correcting our things at our end. So what can you do in this point of time is work on yourself, and understanding how can you go and help people in the fashion industry. And if you're a fashion professional who's already working in the fashion industry for about 4 to 5 years or 8 to 9 years, then you need to rethink, because the fashion industry is pivoting right now. You need to rethink, how would you like to go about the industry? How would you like to reshape your career and rebuild your fashion career? It cannot be approached in the same manner that you have done over the last few years. They want high performance. And trust me, we cannot perform very well if that's not in our area of strength. One of the reasons why people never wanted that, you work from home, because they never believed that people will work from home. And I have got people in my team who have efficiently worked from home, because you have the right people. They love what they are doing. So it's not a difference for them if they are working from home or they're working sitting in the office. They know that why they are delivering and what they are delivering, and all of this. So it's a high time that, when all of this is happening, you start looking at, how do you want to repackage and represent yourself? And Listen, it's very, very important for us to understand presentation is key at this point of time. I can grab your attention if I'm presenting it correctly. I can lose your attention if I'm not presenting it correctly. So if you are a fashion executive and you are thinking, how can I get into these new opportunities? Not everywhere you need the experience. It's the way you go out and network. It's the way you go out and connect with people. It's the way you present yourself and talk about your strengths. Because I did not study a lot of business ever, but that is something which was my strength. I didn't study anything around personal handling people, but that is something which was my strength, and that's how I ended up doing it. Of course, I built skills around it rather than something going into a completely different thing. So maybe if you are great with creativity and you also understand numbers, I would say go for data analytics and go and get a course there and see how would you combine those two to offer yourself to a prospective employer. Get it? Great. An outcome of the course of the either of the ones which you choose, you understand your strengths. So you're not talking about only your experience. You're not talking only about your education, because a lot of others have similar education. A lot of others have got similar experiences that you have got as a merchandiser, as a production head, or as a person who is working in the design or sampling department. Knowing your strengths helps you choose the right role. Whether you should become a designer, a retail planner, a buyer, a merchandiser, get into supply chain, get into innovative, textile, interiors, and I'll tell you why I'm not thinking of interiors as a completely different industry, because there's a lot of soft furnishing stylists as well, which are there, which is a part of the fashion industry only. So you start really identifying what is the right role for you based on your unique personality and strengths, your interests, your skill sets that you hold, and stand out. Because the problem, why people are unable to hire effectively, because almost all the CVs look the same. Almost everyone is looking for a challenging opportunity right now, without being able to differentiate that, whether I will be able to work for a manufacturer which is mid-sized, who is working with a high-end customer, or a manufacturer who is working for a customer who is looking at fast fashion, at more trendy products, or who is not, or who's someone who's just manufacturing basics and essentials. Because based on my personality, I may not be someone who would like to work with a high-end customer, because I don't have those design abilities. I don't have that eye to detail. So why do I waste and there's nothing wrong with what I have. Let me use and do what I'm good with. Building an effective network is the most important. You can be really good, you can be standing out, but if you don't know the right way to network, you are restricting your opportunities. You're restricting your opportunities to what's just going to land in your inbox. And you are not able to actively go and look for the right opportunities for yourself. And you end up growing, because you're not talking about you're not talking to just anyone. You're talking to a particular manufacturer or a brand or an emerging brand or a retailer or a website design company, but you really know that is where you have a vision for your career. Actually, that is what I would say you end up happening once you have done these programs. And with that vision, you start taking your baby step towards, moving towards that dream and making that into a reality. I would like to share some of the experiences, and we have just kept the pictures so that, because of the security and privacy issues. So Ashika is a knitwear design student. She was a knitwear design student from Delhi. When I met her, she was completely clueless of what she wants to do. Academically, she was doing very well. So that was a problem. Her parents felt that, academically, her grades are very good. The teachers really like her a lot. But she used to feel that, she doesn't know what she wants to do in the fashion industry. and was thinking seriously to get into a management course after her graduation in NIFT. And we met her when she was in third year. And she realized over working with me for about 2.5 months, but that they were individual sessions, that she has great knack to be a stylist. And trust me, that's when we realized that she doesn't want to be a fashion stylist. She wants to be an interior stylist. And even when she was thinking of what kind of interior stylist, is it a person who's talking about being a minimalistic, or someone who's actually talking about a lot of value add? So she is a person who loves playing with things, and she's more of a realistic person. She loves products, and a lot of value add on those products is very, very important. So a company now, if we look at, who she's going to be really tapping into, a home furnishing company or an interior company which is looking into hiring interior stylists to cater to their high-end customers who are really looking at very flamboyant things, who are really looking at very aesthetically designed products. That is what she would actually go and be a perfect fit as an interior stylist. So even by being an interior stylist, she's actually narrowing her role. And the other skills around photography and modeling go hand in hand with this. Because for being a stylist, it's important that you have some good photography skills, because you are able to present your work effectively. You get more opportunities while modeling because you are interacting with a lot of people who are in the fashion industry and who might be looking for opportunities, like, would be looking for people like Ashika. Today, she is successfully working as a interior stylist. Arunima was a student of fashion design from Chennai, and she was studying design, but she could never relate to designing or creating. In fact, in her third year, she had started missing her classes because she just knew that she didn't used to enjoy design at all. And that's when I met her and we started working together. At the end of 2.5 months, she knew she was a very highly introvert girl. She really did not want to go out and make a lot of friends. She did not want to interact with a lot of people. And she never used to like designing. She used to like the art part of it, the aesthetics of it, but creating it herself is what she never used to like. And now she is working as a fashion blogger and also as a research analyst for fashion companies. And the people who are working around the newsletters and everything. So that's what she is doing. And this is what she's doing on a freelance basis right now. So this is how, she's actually transformed from picking up being a design student, getting into fashion blogging. But does it help her? Of course it helps her, because she understands fashion industry really well. And that's how it really becomes effortless for her. Arun, I think so, I met him when he was about 2 years back, almost 1.5 years back. And he was working for a liaison office and doing really well on the outside. However, was very, very sad when he was working with his team, because he just did not know how to manage the team. When we did an assessment for him, we realized that what he enjoys doing is process management. What he enjoys doing is something around operations. And very soon, from being into a front-ending job, which is a team leader, he moved into heading the operations. And today he's an operations head for a manufacturing company in India. So these are some of the results that have been experienced by I don't know why this is coming from. Just 1 second. Sorry. Let me take you through the program overview. It's what we had wanted. So far, I've always worked with people individually. And I wanted, 1 second. Okay. So this is a 10-week online program where we thought we are going to give you bite-sized information, because some of you are already doing your graduation this thing. Some of you are in the third year right now, and some of you are also working on projects at this point of time. So I wanted to make this program as easy as possible in terms of executing. So it's a 10-week program where we meet once in a week with a group and we understand what are the challenges the industry is facing. At end of every session, we have some action steps which are going to help us in building a great profile for ourselves so that we stand out of the competition. We have 1 hour weekly sessions, and also you become a part of an GEM community. Now guys, let me just give you, apart from whatever you're going to be getting in the program, being in this community is going to be really, really useful for all of you, because even after you have finished the program, you will be with a community of people who would have similarly done the program with you. They understand your strengths. They will be able to refer you to their network, plus also answer a lot of questions which I'm going to be on a weekly basis. I'm going to be answering a lot of questions to all of you, which are going to be coming up for you. So in this program, you are able to understand what kind of companies would be best suited for you. You exactly come to know how do you go and present yourself, how do you go and network with the industry people. 1 second. The normal price for this group program is 20,000 rupees. Today, we are giving this for only 5,000 rupees because we wanted to get people started on this journey of getting things absolutely right and present themselves so that they are able to get the opportunities which are going to be coming up in the near future. Because companies are looking for proactive people. Companies are looking for people who can really do things very well. 1 second. One second. So at this point of time, if you know exactly what are your strengths and if you are able to present yourself, you will be able to get the right opportunity and you will be the early winners. How do you qualify? Does everyone get it? No. You will have to leave your contact number and number and name in the chat box so that we can connect with you. We can understand what you really want. 1 second. Why is this happening? And once you have left it, we are going to speak to you. Students who are going to be actually, or people who are going to be joining this program today, they also get a personalized career report. They have a one-on-one personalized consulting session based on that career report. And they also get a weekly progress call to discuss the progress. So this is for all the students or all the professionals who are planning to join this session today. And we have got 2 programs. So you might be, if you are a professional, you would be joining in the group of people who already have a lot of experience or have similar experience like you. And if you're a graduate, then you will be joining the students group who are just stepping out or who have got about 1 or 2 years of experience. So this is what is your investment, and please feel free to share your details. And I would just like to thank all of you for giving your time today. Uh, please feel free to reach out to me. And that's my LinkedIn details and my Facebook to connect, Facebook handle and Instagram handle too. So would love to connect with all of you here. Any questions you all have, I will be happy to answer right now. I don't know how these marks are actually coming. I'm not sure who is able to do this. It's a little surprising. Any questions you have, please? Okay, screen sharing is from other people. All right. Yes, I understand. We'll have to disable that. Thank you. But is any questions you all have, please feel free. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you have for this program. You can write your questions in the chat box, or you can even email me the questions. Sublin's education is not from fashion field. How? Even if your education is not from the fashion field, I have seen not one but a lot of people who have the ability, who are really creative. So this is what a personal assessment will really help you in getting. And I would definitely recommend you, before you just jump into and try out, because like I said, there are about 15 to 20 different roles which are there. And I'll stop shares, I will stop screen sharing completely now. I don't know. Pavan, how can we stop screen sharing? So sorry, just to answer your question, assessment really helps you on understanding what are your core strengths and what is the best area that you should be focusing on if you want to get started in the fashion industry. I have actually helped a lot of entrepreneurs also to help them choose the kind of brand they should be focusing on and what is the brand message or the promise they should be delivering. So doesn't really make a lot of difference today. Anyways, a lot of fashion companies are rewriting the ways they are going to be working. So they are not looking for people who are having a lot of experience. Do your core strengths, do your core abilities are something which are going to benefit, and are you able to communicate properly, is what matters the most. So I think so a good assessment and a consultation session will be able to answer this question for you. I think so I'll have to stop sharing now, and I would want you to Stephen, I've already answered, I think so, your question. The process is going through an assessment. and taking a session, or you want to join any of the programs like Launching Your Career, that's also going to give you a heads-on understanding about what is the right opportunity you should be looking for when you are thinking of starting in the fashion industry. Any more questions? I'm just looking at that. Thank you, Simi, for coming and joining us. Thank you, Dolly. Nitin, they are screen sharing. If I have missed out any of the questions which have gone up, please feel free to write it again in the chat box. Best books, you can actually look at Fashion Switch. I'm not sure if it's available or not. It's by Yolan Creative. It's all talking about what other, how fashion brands, and that's all depending on, okay, a good question for the books. What kind of thing that you really want help around? Just like basic books, I would say don't go for a lot of basic books, because that's something which is more technical. What you really need to go and do at this point of time is see where your strength lies, and then choose the kind of books you should be actually going and picking up for yourself. Maybe it's around communication, maybe it's around building a relationship with your buyer. So I think so these are the more important things, because in fashion industry it's more of listening, it's more of understanding. So without knowing your strengths, I would not recommend you to pick up a program also and pick up a book to go through. All right, thank you. Thanks a lot for all of you. I would end the session now, and thanks a lot for joining in today.